Aboriginal people and their descendants and pledge to honor their stewardship and values. In our honoring ways, we normally, and I haven't done this in times past, but I'm going to ask everybody to stand if you would. And if you're at home, in our honoring ways, we say thank you. So in traditional ways, you raise your hands. This means thank you. Thank you. In my traditional ways, we say supaki. So you can say thank you in your way, but thank you is just a gracious way and to be grateful for all we have. And in our ways, I want us to be thoughtful moving forward at Spokane colleges, thinking that the lands that we're currently serving on, especially in these really challenging and trying times, and as our chancellor talks today, we are in really challenging times. One thing that one of my elders and many elders teaches us is that we're all related. And we need to look forward, not back, but forward together, not apart. Find ways to work together, not in division, and even through difficulties, trying to do this together. My elders are very wise people, and so I want to thank you all for being here, and let's work together to find peace moving forward. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome Trustee Todd Woodard, Chair of Spokane College's Board of Trustees, to say a few words.
Thank you. I personally always enjoy the native land acknowledgement because I like to think of going through life and the things that I've done, the jobs that I've had, is that our history is our future, and that you don't do anything in a singular way, but you build upon the history that you had. And I was thinking, and not to still lie, but I truly was thinking, in the times that we're facing today, the native land acknowledgement, for at least for me, sums up our need and desire for inclusivity of all thoughts, and inclusivity of all communities. So I enjoyed that as a start at every meeting, and I thought you did that beautifully. So thank you. On just behalf of, I don't want to be the whole program, but I'm not going to be. I had a CEO once that said, be brief, be bright, be gone. So those are the three things that always the three B's go through my mind. Just so you know, in terms of what the trustees are up to, we're in the process of completing the Chancellor's annual review and setting up goals for 2026. And those will be discussed later this month at the monthly board meeting. Just want to make sure, if you didn't realize, we do establish goals going forward that hopefully encapsulate part of the town hall, and hopefully as we go forward we'll learn more about that. One other plug I'd like to make, and again, these trying times have been going through my head, is food security. Got reacquainted with an old friend I've known for 30 years, retired, went to work for Second Harvest. And we've been doing some outreach to some groups that are in need, and he sent me some information. I knew the college had a food pantry. I think the foundation actually supports 3 pantries. I was surprised to read that it was over 100,000 pounds of food a year that comes through the college's pantry. That is a significant data point for me in terms of the need that is out there. But with the changes, with the shutdown of the government and the impact it's had on SNAP and other programs, the time to donate and the needs are greater, honestly, than they ever have. This is such a generous community, but if you find it in your heart, the cash donations to Southern Harvest go out at 3 to 1. So for every dollar you put in, they maximize it with 3. They serve 23 counties, basically all the counties in our service district, amongst those in North Idaho as well. So, and part of that, STCU, just donated a $20,000 donation to food security here in the colleges. So a lot of interest in that. And I know there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of demands, but anything you can do on that score as well. And then just one thing looking forward in terms of a legislative session, and the changes that we're experiencing, we're going to go through some rough sailing. It's just I have a T-shirt that says, COMC's never made a good sailor, but I don't know if that's appropriate for these times or not. But in terms of state budget, what's going on federally, so I appreciate this, and everybody's keeping their patience, and everybody's working and rowing in the same direction, but we're going to need that cohesiveness now more than ever. So again, thank you. I'm just looking forward to the town hall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trustee Woodard. Okay, once again, welcome. Thank you for being here. We're happy to have you on campus today, and we'll also extend greetings to those with us online. Today's event is our Chancellor Town Hall. For those who may not know, Chancellor Kevin Brockbank began his career with Spokane Colleges in 2015 as the Vice Provost of Strategic Partnerships, became president of STC in 2017, and in April of 2023 was named Chancellor. Joining him on stage is our moderator for today, Melanie Rose, our Chief Institutional Advancement and External Affairs Officer. We'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I'm going to follow up on Trustee Woodard's comments here real briefly, just before I lose the moment. First and foremost, I want to kind of recognize that our trustees are a super active group. They don't just show up for board meetings once a month. They are at events, advocates for us. I'll talk about Todd here for a second, but I think it reflects on, it's true about all of our trustees. Before, Todd just renewed his appointment to the board, which are 5-year terms, so he signed on for a 10-year commitment. You realize that, right, Todd? It's not dog years, it's real years. So it's real years. He's currently chair. He's had 1 year there. He'll have another year in that position. But I would tell you that Todd not only does what he needs to in that role as chair, but has been a great mentor for many of us as we kind of develop in executive roles. His experience in lobbying and advocacy in the political world has been invaluable. And I will often say Todd's the best advocate in this city for Spokane Colleges. Just always there, and opening doors for us to be successful across this. And also he was the chair of the foundation before he became a trustee. So somebody who's committed to our institution and just a total value added to what we do here. So thank you, Todd, for all your time. And then the last thing I want to say too is our foundation, in addition to STCU giving us $20,000 this morning, I think some of you will have seen on social media as well as on some email, our foundation is promoting and pushing a student support drive in response to the challenges with SNAP, food assistance and energy assistance. So what our ask there is to look at that, consider donating, but also to push that out on your own social media accounts would be great. We just want to try to use the strength of our size and impact to help our students, as well as, in some cases, our employees who would maybe use Second Harvest or other things in town to help with that. So just be considerate of others and hopefully help them a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with some questions. And the format, for those of you who are new to this, is we're going to start out, I'm going to ask the Chancellor a few questions. He's going to answer them. Gives you time to think about what your questions are going to be, and then we're going to open it up to for the rest of the time to answer your questions. So we're going to start with the new academic year underway, what are some of the challenges you see on the horizon?
So the answer to this question is probably exactly what you all think. It's the easiest question of the day, and it starts continued challenge of dealing with the uncertainty of the federal government, how we deal with executive orders and different guidances that we receive, and in a lot of cases, the lack of clarity that we're trying to follow there. So that's one thing we continue to work with. Also, you're going to see some challenges on the horizon with the state budget. Revenue projections are down. There's just a lot of things kind of trending in the wrong direction for the next session that's coming up. And then we'll talk about a little later other budget issues that are part of the allocation model that our state system has put together. And so there's a lot of other things, of course, that are challenges for us, but they're regular business challenges. Those three things are what are kind of the things that dominate my decision making and my day right now.
So speaking of decisions, how are you approaching the tough decisions that come with these challenges?
Yeah, there's been some tough decisions this year, and there are going to be plenty more ahead of us. I'll share something, though, I shared with the cabinet and our senior leadership the other day, and I think everybody needs to accept this as part of the role, is your predecessors in your position have not dealt with the level of challenges that we are currently dealing with and the challenges that we have on the horizon. And we'll talk about those a little bit more here as we get going. But like I've even talked to Dr. Christine Johnson and talked about, like, she's like, no, it was not that hard. She didn't have as many moments like this. And so as a dean or a director or a faculty member or staff, wherever you're at, recognize the fact that these are exceptional times and give yourself a little bit of grace and the people next to you a little bit of grace, because it really is taxing. And we also not only want to keep moving our institution forward, but there's some wellness issues involved with that as well. And so think about that as we go through difficult decisions. The other thing I would say about difficult decisions that get to me and have to make is, we do our very best to work off of facts and eliminate anecdotal arguments about the right way to do things. But there often are times when difficult decisions are a coin flip. And they're the types of things where, no matter which decision you make, there will be some damage here and some benefit there. And we do our best in most cases to do that in a participatory way through the shared governance process. There are times, though, when confidentiality requires us to do that a little bit behind the scenes. And I think that's just one of the things that we have to deal with. But I would ask that when we do that, you understand that we do it with the utmost care for individuals and thought about our employees as well as our students along the way. There's never a perfect way to make some of those decisions, but I will tell you from a personal perspective, every morning I wake up, I'm thinking about this place. And every night when I go to bed, I'm thinking about this place. And we're thinking about employees, and we're thinking about our students, and we're thinking about the future, and we're thinking about long-term sustainability. It is, I think, our senior leadership and those people at other levels of the organization who have decision-making are not only doing the best we can making decisions, but understand that that's the expectation going forward. And we're going to stick to that as we go through the next year and time beyond that. The other thing I want to say about tough decisions is that one thing I don't want people to do is to latch on assumptions to a decision I make. And I'll just use the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference decision I made a month ago or so, where we weren't going to use institutional funds to attend that conference. And what I want to say is, it's come back to me that in some ways, some people think that means that I don't support our faculty and staff of color. And that's not true. I love our faculty and staff of color, without question. I don't have a personal problem with the conference. This is a long story that I've covered over and over and over again with larger groups. But if you are attaching assumptions to a decision made by senior leadership without evidence, you are mistaken. And in this case, I would say exactly mistaken. This place is for everybody. When we open the doors, we do equity work just by product of what we do as a community college. Our faculty and staff in color are as valued as anybody here, and anybody who takes a different approach doesn't belong here, period. So there are a lot of tough decisions that create reciprocal reactions, and I want folks to really think about that there are sometimes lots of layers and scaffolding to decisions that happen that maybe you don't see everything behind the scenes. But we want to make sure that when we make tough decisions going forward, we really are honestly thinking at the best interests of our institution and our people.
Okay, thank you. So let's shift gears a little bit. You referred to some budget challenges in the last 2 questions ago. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, this is a little bit challenging to cover in a verbal format, but it's also not an email form conversation. So I talked earlier about the uncertainty of the federal government, and we've lost some funding along the way with grants as well as SNAP benefits at times. Anyways, we've had some challenges there. The biggest challenge going forward, though, is the new allocation model from the state board. So a little bit of history is that when we get money from the legislature, we get a big lump sum of money that goes to the community college system. And then that money goes through a formula and it's distributed to all 34 colleges based on a variety of variables, the largest of which is currently headcount and FTE. And that's how we get our allotment every year. So the current model, which we're about ready to switch away from, was ultimately designed to reward colleges who went above the target, which is an old model term. Well, in 2015, everybody went below the target and it froze the model. So we were frozen at a 2015 funding level. And in essence, the way it rolled out, it looks like we were overfunded for the last 10 years. And so we get an adjustment to our allocation starting next year in total, which is going to be $7 million. Now, that $7 million will be implemented over a 6-year period, but it will be really, really, really impactful here. And I want to talk about that a little bit today, about what that means and what the actions are that we have in place going forward, and how we're going to deal with that as a group. So as you might imagine, $7 million will impact everyone here in one way or another. And I want to say this first. The first place everybody's going to go is, do I need to worry about my job? And I'll give you 2 answers to that. There is not a plan at this point to eliminate any specific position. We are going to be very thorough in our analysis of what will be beneficial to our institution, what things will cut expenses, what things will grow revenues, and what things will create efficiencies. But we're going to analyze all of it. And so as we move forward in this, I will tell you this, the next steps are, well, I actually want to cover a little bit of things. So we want to make moves that are cut expenses, grow revenues, and create efficiencies. We also want to be sure that, I want everybody to realize we can't cut our way out of this. We are going to have to do things that involve some risk and some innovation and some transformational change. And when we talk about that, everything, well, nothing's off limits. Everything we do, our structure, our organization, administrators, everything is up for debate and analysis. And we have to be better than the other colleges in the system to start winning on that model. So we'll do that, but the way that will happen is I'm going to start by, well, let me back up one. I'm sorry, I missed one step. One of the things that Trustee Woodard talked about in the goals and stuff was a very clear discussion about this allocation model adjustment, which we know is significant, and the request from the trustees to absolutely do an analysis of what it would look like with a one college, one CEO, single accreditation model. And I know that's been a topic that has been not thoroughly discussed for a long time. There was a study done in 2012, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to meet with the 2 college management or leadership committees, ask for some advice and leadership on how that, we're going to reconstitute that task force to do a quick study on single accreditation, single CEO, single college, and what, if any, money do we save by changing the model. Everything will go under that kind of an analysis. And so we'll ask in that group, and then there will be a task force of diverse stakeholders across the organization to get in and do the work and find out what other colleges and other systems have done. So we'll do that. Then we have also the Business Planning and Advisory Committee. We'll do some of the work under Linda McDermott. And we're going to start the process of just starting the analysis of where we can get better as an organization. I'll talk a little bit about what that means going forward. But part of the goals that we talked about earlier is the idea of having a 6-year plan at some level of detail by the time we approve the budget for next year. And that will be a challenge for us to have that in place, but we've already talked about ways we can adjust and modify for that work. But that's what the trustees have asked for, and I think that's a reasonable expectation for us going forward so that we know what we're looking at. So I don't think that this will change our vision for our organization, our expectations, our ability to serve our community, but it will be taxing on all of us to get everything we can out of this place in the best way possible. And there's a part of me that actually really looking forward to it and looking forward to working closely with everybody to find the way forward and to do the best we can for this place so it's sustainable and strong and serving students long after we're no longer here. So the other thing I want to mention too, and this is the little light at the end of the long tunnel on this situation, is we are currently finalizing a letter to the state board, which is we'll ask them and the staff to review the counting and the way that students are coded. We believe that there's some of our enrollments that are not being recorded and counted in the same way as every other college, and if what we suspect is true, we will improve our number and lessen the adjustment amount. And so we have our fingers crossed, but we're going to continue to advocate at that level. We're going to continue to work together here at this level, and I'll talk a little bit about what we want going forward, but really what we want is participation and active engagement in the process to deal with the adjustment that we're going to be given. So maybe I'll stop there and we can pick up questions later too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to shift gears a little bit to federal.
Okay.
The wonderful DOJ memo. Can you give us an update on the internal audit that was prompted by the recent Department of
Yeah.
Justice memo?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's kind of a tag on to the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference decision. The Department of Justice memo that we received in July really gave some vague outlines of these are things that the federal government believes are not, I think they say not legal. There's a debate there, and the Attorney General's office will say they're not illegal. That being said, the Department of Justice memo and our efforts to follow the audit are really in order to stay in compliance and not in a position where we have to defend what we're doing, even though I think what we're doing is absolutely in line with what we're being asked to do by the state. But everything we see that I think kind of goes against that memo has been audited, and I think we're in a great spot at this point. I think the important part of this question, though, is when we make one decision about compliance to the Department of Justice memo, that does not set the precedent that everything that's like that will be judged in the same way going forward. My decision about the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference had a heavy, heavy contribution to lack of information at that moment, and the heightened sense of concern that if I were reviewing it today, wouldn't have quite the same level of concern. And that's where we get to the fact is, in a leadership position, I'll tell you, I don't always make the right decisions, but I make the best decision I can given the information at the moment. And sometimes that's right, sometimes that just maybe doesn't look right later on, but the Department of Justice memo is something we'll continue to kind of evaluate things against, but also the other part of the evaluation that I don't share very openly is the places where we assume risk in the interest of doing the right thing. That's not something we push out, but we do our very best to comply. At the same time, we do our very best to serve our students and our employees as well.
Okay, continuing on federal questions and risk. What federal funding is at risk for Spokane colleges?
The truth of the matter is that the federal funds at risk for our college are all of them, in my opinion. And that includes federal financial aid, every grant we have, every assistance we have. There is a focus, and in some cases an attack on higher education that has never happened in the history of higher education in this country. And the way our work is perceived at a federal level creates those types of policy changes that threaten those funds. Do I really think federal financial aid would be something that would be taken away from an institution? Not really. But I also wouldn't risk it in the interest of trying to find out. It's too much of a risk for our students, as well as what it would mean for the organizational viability going forward. So I think everything as part of this DOJ is about protecting the federal funds we have in order to do the work we need to do. And I've said this numerous times over the last month, which is, if I knew I would have the opportunity to adequately defend our work and what we do and how we do it under an unbiased judge and jury, I'd take a lot more risks. But there's a lot of examples of where that's not what's happening when penalties and sanctions are being implemented. So the thing that keeps me awake at night is that, and I just am really attentive to it. So I think everything's sort of up for scrutiny.
Okay. Government shutdown. We're now, I think, in historical perspective, in the longest shutdown so far, impacting the future of the colleges for both students and employees. How are these concerns being addressed, and what are we doing? You talked about the food drive and the student support appeal.
Yeah, the topic we kind of covered at the beginning is largely the answer to that question is that, I mean, SDCU was in my office this morning, and just the timing could not have been better for them to just bust out one of those big checks that you see in a NASCAR race. I mean, just like timing could not have been better for that. And the work with the foundation's doing to do student supports, all intention. What I think is important to understand, though, is when you talk about losing federal funds or those such things, we cannot replace what the federal government does. They're just, if we lose SNAP benefits, or BFED is about a $500,000 grant for us in a year. Head Start is millions and millions of dollars. Any of those things we can't replace with, good intentions, good effort, and a good heart. We have to pay attention to that, be good advocates in our private lives, and also be good stewards of that money currently. But I think what we're doing, our community stepping up without even asking, our foundation jumping up and starting a new fundraising campaign for that in the interest of, we have people who care, and that is one thing that we can replace some of the things that we sometimes lose from the federal government. And hopefully the shutdown will be over soon, but I don't want to try to predict what's going on there.
Nor do I.
Not in public.
Are you ready to shift to positive stuff?
What's that?
Are you ready to shift to positive?
Yeah, I do want to shift to positive
Okay.
stuff.
Do you want to shift now, or you want to want me to ask you some more questions?
Let's cover the snow day thing.
Okay. Oh, okay. He really wants to cover this. So the question is, when and how do you decide if Spokane colleges will have a snow day?
So the awesome thing about this question is it's just a normal, every year we talk about this question, not like the unpredictability we just talked about and the gravity of that. So snow days, I know there's a ton of people get really fired up about snow days. So let me be serious for a minute. When I make snow days decisions, this is absolutely one of those 50% a year mad, 50% a year happy. And so there's no way to win. But we did make some really positive changes a couple of years to our policy, or the way we enact our policy. Some of you will know this because you've been here for a couple of years, but we didn't have a snow day last year. So there's probably many people who are working here who haven't experienced this. So when we have a weather event or some other power outage or something where we call for suspended operations, what we have done, this is typically a snow day, is instead of doing what every school district in the city does, which is get up at 4:30, go walk your dog, see how slick it is, and then decide, are we having class or not, when there's students halfway here from Deer Park already. Like, there is no madder student ever than one who shows up at 6:30 and the doors are locked. That's not good. So a couple of years ago, we just decided as a group, like, hey, look, weather forecasts are pretty accurate, and if we're really truly thinking about our employees and students, especially those parents who are trying to figure out, what do I do with my kid if I have to go or they have to go and I don't, sitting around at 5 o'clock in the morning looking at the local news to see if CCS is open, we just went away from that. And what we did is we decided we would make a decision the day before at 4 o'clock. So if we are in suspended operations or work from home or whatever it is, you have time to grab your computer, grab your stuff, go home, and then you can make your decisions about daycare, school, independently, not at 4:30 in the morning. And like when you start classes at 7 o'clock in the morning, those people from Deer Park really are on the road already. And I just don't think that's super thoughtful. Now, the hazard in that, all belongs to me, which is, and I always tell this story, the first year we did that, first time we did it, we nailed it. Like, we were closed early, people were happy, terrible snowstorm, right decision. About a month later, I do the same thing, and we totally missed. Or I totally missed, I guess. And my sister, I grew up in Montana, my sister lives here. She called me up and called me every soft word in the book, like just tore me down because we were the only place closed that day. But that being said, I want everybody to understand why we do it that way and the fact that there is some risk in it. But I think that's the most humanistic way to approach it as we, we're initially, ultimately trying to make a decision about safety and what's best for our people. So with that, we've assumed a little bit of risk because we think it's just a better way to take care of our folks. And so that's how we make the decision.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that.
I want to say this too. The other way we make the decision is everybody strong arms me into doing it, because I have this Montana grow up thing where I think like, well, I had 0 snow days growing up. Like, I don't know why we just get up earlier and shovel your driveway. It's fine. I know, it's not like that anymore. It's not like, I revert back to 1988. But I'm pretty easily swayed because I know that I'm in the minority on that stuff.
Positive? Shall we shift?
Sure.
Okay. We're going to do a few just positive, move away from the Debbie Downer stuff for a minute and talk about all the positive stuff that's going, and then we'll get to the questions. So, lots to celebrate.
Yeah, so there are a ton of things to celebrate, and it is important to try to figure out how to step back and celebrate the moments. We have so much going on here. I think a great indicator from my seat is how much stuff we pile on the Board of Trustees agenda to say, we're doing this and that, and this thing's developing, those things are, it's just like your regular personal life. It's easy to get swamped down by the things that aren't giving you energy and forget about the things that do give you energy. And so, first of all, kudos to both colleges on having a really strong fall and summer combination. You're kind of right on target. Just continuing to trend up after the pandemic, still trying to fight back to pre-pandemic levels in some cases, but in other cases we're there. And that's not where everybody's at. And in particular, I'll mention 2 things. One is Running Start, nearly 1,000 students at each campus in Running Start. Like, that's awesome. The other one is our Global Education International students. Yeah. So they did, against all odds, are the only international program in the community college system that is up from last year. I actually don't know exactly how you did it, and maybe I don't want to know, but overcoming kind of, I think, what was not a great image to bring students over, like how welcoming is it, really persevered over some really hard obstacles. I think that's amazing work there. Yeah, retention. And stealing students from other colleges. I did hear that, so I don't care. I'm good with it. So the other ones I think I want to talk about just Department of Labor grant, the Strengthening Community Colleges work, Vice President Julie Parks and her team, some of them are here, continuing to do that work that's building like the night machining program and some really innovative things. Just really appreciate the innovation from that group. Julie Parks also has been an incredible representative of us in the community and the Tech Hub work. She has gotten us in there as one of the lead institutions with just a couple others. So we're in a position to really be a driver in aerospace manufacturing workforce development going forward. And that's been a really rocky road, and she just stuck in there and gotten us in the position we need to be in, and it's just super great. Naomi Bender, who was here, there she is right there. I thought she'd leave, but she has helped us. Our first Tribal Advisory Council is scheduled for this spring, and the idea of what we're gonna be able to work with that group on, including historical representations in the lodge, as well as some policies and procedures that are aimed at our Native students, but also will help many of our students going forward. I think is going to be really an add-on for us. And then the rural campuses, Pullman, the new biology lab in Pullman is an incredible addition, as well as the work that's happening in the northern counties with the LPN program. There's a lot of innovation and a lot of effort into going into those new things. And then here's the list of things too early to talk about that might happen and might fall apart. The first one, this is one of the best things that's happened to us today. That $20,000 was great too, but the vote yesterday on the bond for Spokane Public Schools appears to pass, right? What's that?
Bond and the levy.
Bond and levy, thank you, for the technical high school here. And that will be transformational for what we do in this community for development of individuals into professional technical programs, and frankly, just sticking them in a place where they think the only path forward after high school is the college. There is unfortunately, the state of Washington's transition rate from high school to college is like 48th in the country. I do not understand it for a second. So putting those students on our campus, completely aligned with programs here and at the Falls, and saying, these are your options going forward. All you have to do is walk across the street is as powerful a thing as we can do. And our team that worked on it deserves a lot of credit, but also Superintendent Swinyard and his team deserves a ton of credit too. And I'll tell you exactly how this started. Superintendent Swinyard calls me like on a Thursday, says, hey, what would you think about technical high school on your SCC campus? I said, yeah, we're totally in. The call lasted maybe 20 minutes total, and we were on the ballot. Away we go. And so having visionaries like that who are risk takers as partners is super important. But a couple other ones that I think are really exciting is Second Harvest, Trustee Woodard talked about earlier. Last Monday I met with our CEO and a private donor, and we are currently finalizing the research design to do a study to produce the data that shows by providing food scholarships to needy students, it increases their rate of completion. We all know what the data is going to show. But what that will do is it will show data and evidence under a controlled environment that says, this is a great place for you to invest, this is a great place for you to give, and this will directly impact the success of students. We've got a great private donor who is into it, I think, which is something that will lend itself to some stuff going forward. The other one is across the street here, the old railroad yard, just a blank field right now, is owned by STA. And they've come to us and through some separate conversations found the partnership of their plan is to build their driver training and maintenance training facility there. So that will be right across the street. We're going to work to be a partner in that in a way that allows them to come over and use classrooms, where we'll be able to come over and use the driver training lot, and in some way look at opportunities to share maintenance training facilities. There's zero emissions, and some of that technology that we currently don't have available to our students is something we're going to work towards, mutually beneficial. Chaz is working with us on the closure of the student health clinic. I think there will be some announcements about that from leadership here. There is also, and I think, I'm not going to name names here, but there is a almost certain possibility that we will have an option for daycare going forward, starting in the summer, ideally directed and designed to help our employees during the breaks, Christmas break, spring break, and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to give a ton of credit to Vice President Jacqueline Jaycott, using some previous relationships to make that happen. I had nothing to do with it other than to make it a priority a couple of years ago to say we have to do something to help our employees who are parents who don't have readily access to those things where the breaks cause you all kinds of trouble. So kudos to you, Jacqueline. Two more. One of them is a few people, Laura Woods from Spokane Falls, Joan Conley from here at SCC, and Piper from here have been talking to Gonzaga about a program that's designed to capture and help their students who are unsuccessful and need to leave to come to community college and then come back to the organization. My wife works at Gonzaga. That might have been where it kind of got started. But it's an opportunity for us to use our expertise in excellent instruction and recovery on students that want to go back to Gonzaga and be successful. There is a large number of students who do that, and one of the things I talked about with the vice provost when I started talking about this program was, if we're going to be here to help your students come back, we want some slots allocated that allow our students who don't see Gonzaga as an option to be available for them. So there's some benefit to them, but there's some benefit to us. Does anybody want to guess how many students have transferred from Spokane colleges to Gonzaga since fall of '23? Take a wild guess. I can't hear anything either, so. No, Nicole, you can't guess.
No.
20? 81. And I'm doing this from memory, but of those 81 students, 8 graduated, 11 are inactive, and all the rest are still moving forward. And this is data that has to be cleaned up a little bit, but I don't think I think those are all non-Running Start students. So there really is a pipeline to Gonzaga, and one that, I know there's some graduates in the crowd here, and it's something we want to provide students every opportunity that they dream of. And in alignment with that, another meeting we have planned is December 4th, I think, the cabinets of Eastern Washington and Spokane colleges will meet to talk about innovative ways that we can work together to benefit our students and our organizations in what are ultimately tough times for us. Eastern struggles with those enrollments as well, and we think there are ways that we can help, whether it's, can our students use residential housing at Eastern? Can we work on marketing that shows a pathway to start here and finish there, instead of us individually competing? I don't know how many people watched the World Series, Game 7? How many Eastern commercials did you see? A lot. So there's this interesting dynamic where they ultimately are a competitor to us in some ways, and their image is about this new Polytechnic, which is fine. We can compete at a certain level, but we also need to recognize that straight competition between two organizations also has a cost, and President McMahon understands that, and we are trying to build a trust relationship that will result in some positives for us as well. Partnerships are going to be one of the ways out of this $7 million scenario. And you know what? I'm going to go way back for 1 second. The $7 million does not happen all at once. I told you it's a 6-year timeline. So what's caused a little bit of urgency for us was we originally thought that we would have to adjust for $350,000 in this next year. They changed that at the state board in the middle of October. Now it's 1.16 million every year added on to each other along the way till we get to the 7 million. So it's graduated and a larger lift. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows, like, we're not losing $7 million next year. 1.16 million will be the adjustment next year, and add on another one the next year and another one the next year. So we'll talk about, it'll be easier with a slideshow at some point or a deck. I'll do a video and just explain that in a little bit more detail. But like I said, these partnerships where we have mutual benefit and save costs and generate revenue and help students are going to be the way that we build our organization going forward and build this community going forward as well.
Okay, I think we'll shift gears and take questions.
Okay.
We don't have a ton of time left. Who has questions? I see waving hand in the back.
Could not be any further away.
I know. I can't see who that
Everybody
is.
watch Erin walk up the long, long aisle.
Erin's getting her exercise.
Hi, Dr. Brockbank. This is Austin Davis from the Institutional Research here at SCC. My question for you today is, given the financial challenges facing Spokane colleges, how can we as a district continue to collaborate, innovate, and strengthen partnerships by expanding programs that help our students thrive in high-demand industries and maintain our commitment to access, opportunity, and community impact.
Is that all? I mean, Austin. I can't really see that far either. You didn't really have to take credit for that. So that is a huge mouthful of stuff. But my first reaction to that is, how do we do this with these financial troubles? And it goes to this is, we have to be more trusting of ourselves internally, to have the conversation of where we are spending money that we don't need to, of where we're duplicating things that we don't need to, of where we have barriers that we just have conveniently ignored over years, where we have inefficiencies, or where we ignored each other. Is there anybody in the room that cannot think of one place where we're inefficient? I dare you. It's just not true. And there's often times when fear of, saying something or addressing an issue would have repercussions. Man, we got to get past that. And I've talked about building culture here for almost 3 years, and that is part of the culture, is that we have to be open. There's traditionally been 3 pillars of this organization: the district, SEC, SFCC. Those walls are gone, because there is no way we're going to assign each pillar a part of this $7 million and think that we can all make it. It will eat ourselves alive. And so, to answer your question, Austin, this is more from a human perspective than it is from an organizational management perspective. We have to all be vulnerable, willing, and present participants in the work. And there's nearly 2,000 people that work here, and if the only ideas for solving this come out of district cabinet, we are missing out on some of the opportunities there. And we're going to provide opportunities for people to participate. You can share all your great ideas. You can also share your bad ideas. We'll sort it out. But we need great minds, risk takers, innovators, and people that are fired up for the challenge. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. This, of course, has been swirling around in my head since July, when we first got the total adjustment. It needed to start swirling around in your head and start thinking about, how can we do these things? What do I want to contribute? I just know that we'll be fine. I, personally, am starting to really embrace it and really look forward to the fact that this gives us an opportunity to look at all those things that Austin listed and said, how can we make that better? And will there be some changes? Yeah, there has to be some changes. But know that we're going to do it with the utmost care and thought to our individuals and to our organization and to the community. And sometimes it's going to be hard to make those things fit together, but I just guarantee you I will do it with the utmost respect for this place and the people. So there's a long, long answer to your long, long question. I probably answered half of it, Austin, but.
Okay, other questions? I see a hand back. There's 2 hands back there. Where'd Erin go? Oh, there she is.
Hi. This is in relation to a topic you've covered a couple of times with the faculty and staff of Color Conference, but I don't want to rehash that. But a question was brought to me about whether the institution will support the Faculty of Color mentoring program that the state board provides each year.
Yeah.
Whether or not there will be support for faculty to pursue opportunities with that.
Yeah, so 2 ways to kind of answer that. One is everything, like I said, my decision about the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference is not a precedent-setting decision. It was a one-time, one-event decision based on the evaluation we did based on the Department of Justice, Civil Rights, blah, blah, blah. That conference will get the same look, and hopefully there's more information. But also, like I would say, looking forward, and I'll give some compliments to Debbie Joyner, who has helped with the Student of Color Conference and sharing with me what the planning looks like for that, so I have a little bit more insight as to what that will look like and what level of risk I think that creates or we assume as an organization. So in general, on a personal level, yeah, I'm good with it. I just we want to be able to make sure we double check it and we have record keeping that we've evaluated it through that. So you send that stuff to Brianne, and it will be evaluated. It happens pretty quickly. But at this point, I think just being honest, my tolerance level and risk tolerance for those things are a little bit higher than they were when I made the decision at the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference. And I'm open-minded about every single thing we evaluate, which I think is fair. Did that answer your question, Jeff?
Okay, we had another hand over here.
Oh, hi. This is a two-part. First one, sorry. First is to encourage you. So I do a scheduled mental breakdown, and when that's scheduled and I'm breaking down, I go through a list of stories or the things that happened in my life that are positive, and then the breakdown lasts only 2 hours, and then I'm back to normal. And so my message to you is I hope you pick up the stories from, like you said, Debbie, staff, and everyone, and when that push comes to shove, you have a file in your mind or things to help you push through. But this other part is I'm curious. Last year, we mentioned that the OFM made a budget mistake. It was almost like 2 million or something to the sort that we were supposed to pay back or give back.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
No. So good question. So last year, is Jason Eggerman in here still? Where's Jason? So I'm going to give Jason a little credit as we talk. They often have pre-conversations about big news, and I started talking about budget, and he's like, look, the sky's always falling with you guys, which is true. And like last year, we were really, really worried about having to pay back this $2.6 million. It would have been our share of what was OFM's calculation error. And I can't tell you how much time I spent in the state capitol advocating for us to not pay that back. And 2 days before the close of the session, we were still paying that back. And I'm going to partially take credit for it. But myself and our lobbyist, Arlen Harris, I think were there in the last couple of days, only ones from the community college system, and really tracking down Tim Ormsby, who is a local legislator here, and who also is the chair of the Appropriations Committee in the House. And we caught up with him, pleaded again and again, and the day after we really had our final conversation with him, it was out of the budget. So I will give kudos to Representative Ormsby for helping us out on that, as well as some of our other local legislators. But we did not have to pay that back. We ended up getting some other reductions as part of the general fund reduction, but that really saved us from having to go into some sources of funds we didn't want to have to work with. So yeah, great memory and great question. Yeah. 5 minutes?
No, he's got a question on. Yeah, we do have 5 minutes. That's true.
Yeah.
No, Jeff's indicating he's got a question online.
Yes. Sorry about that. Thank you. It's
Hi,
a
Jeff.
hot mic. And we do have 5 minutes left. So, yeah, there were a couple of ideas that were in here about can a virtual Dropbox be created where employees can drop ideas in, preferably via SharePoint on the...
Yeah.
Okay.
On the budget?
Yeah.
So that's one of the plans, Jeff, and that will be developed here. The other thing we're doing is very carefully going back through the budget survey that was put out last year, and we're going to crosswalk the things we did and things we haven't done and some of the suggestions. We're not going to survey you to, over-survey you on the information. We know what we're going to get out of those surveys. And so we're going back to the one we had, and the Budget Planning and Advisory Committee will lead some of that work.
And then the other question was whether there's any updates or about major milestones or major updates regarding the North-South Freeway in the campus here.
No, I have not talked to WashDOT about that. I don't. Jacqueline, maybe. Have you heard anything locally? No. I don't even know. Trustee Woodard, do you know anything about? I don't know about the next bid process. No. Yeah. So shortfall of the state budget is still affecting the ability to complete that. in perpetuity.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, if there's one. Any more online? Anyone in the room?
You want to do that one?
No? Yep.
Yeah, there was
Oh.
one question, sorry, and it was, what is SFCC CCS going to do in response to the Hanover report?
That's a conversation I'm in the middle of with President McEachern. I don't think I can fully answer that without him here, but I'm aware of it, have started a conversation with him, but promise an action on that soon.
Okay, well, let's get to our closing question then.
Okay.
What are your expectations of every Spokane College's employee this year?
So I went on a little bit of a rant earlier about like, hey, this is a group project. We have some challenges in front of us that are going to impact everybody, and we'll need everybody to be part of that. At some point, somebody said to me, like, you just got to ask them to give a little bit more, and I'm not going to do that. Everybody gives a lot. What I would say is when things get tough, the people who work hard work harder, and sometimes the folks that are not part of that and are not invested in that don't do that. And a faculty member I worked with a long time ago would always say, you're either in the wagon or you're pulling the wagon. And if you're not sure where you're at, you're in the wagon. And it's true. This is going to be one of those moments where, hey, look around. The people next to you, the people around you are going to be the ones that help us work through all this. And we're going to ask everybody to share in that and to do the same amount of stuff. So the first thing and foremost thing is be present, be participatory, share your thoughts. Even if you don't think they're as important as the person that you're next to, you might have the best idea that there is. Please share, please be present, please be part of it. And the second part, as I mentioned to you earlier, is if you see or know of something that hurts our efficiency as an organization, whether it's students coming in the door, let's start knocking those things out. The old history of things that have been protected and guarded against over the years, we have no latitude for that right now. We have to be as good as we can be, the best we can be, and I don't think anybody would say that any college, including ours, works at 100%. Let's chip away at those things. The better we get, the better our financial situation will be. And when I say that, I want to say to you, enrollments are about people and about our process. What it shows is how well are we serving those people. So don't think that when we talk about enrollment as an administrative team that we're just talking about how we're counting money. We're talking about how we serve our community, and if enrollment is an indicator of that. And then the last thing is just help me build a culture of working towards a common goal. We're working on that strategic plan to get that finished up. That is going to be our guiding light, and the work we have to do here. Help me create a community that doesn't make it okay to point fingers, but makes it okay to talk to other people about things you think can be improved. I think one of the challenges that we have in society today is we look at things and if you do one thing, that is there's no latitude or no grace for what people do and how they do it, decisions they make. We have to be better than that here to overcome what is on the horizon for us. And so I would ask that you be kind to each other, be thoughtful about what's going forward, and do the best you can to help contribute to that kind of culture that will make us even better than we are today. We are still a great organization. We have some challenges in front of us, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Have a great rest of your day.